Hey Seahawks, thanks for joining us again for another Student Live. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them right down below. And go ahead and take a minute to go ahead and share this stream with someone who you think could benefit from today's segment. As you're probably aware, we have been celebrating our veterans all week long, and specifically our student veterans here at Broward College. Today, we're actually going to talk about what resources these students need and how they can access them through Broward College. So with that, I'd love to introduce today's special guests.
Hi, my name is Carlos Parra, and I serve as the District Director of Student Engagement here at Broward College.
My name is Justin Stuckert. I am a student at Broward College now for about 3 years, and I am an 11-year Army veteran.
Thank you both so much for joining us to talk today, like I said, a little bit more about the resources that our student veterans need and how we can better meet those needs at BC. But before we go ahead and jump into today's topic, it's been over 8 months now since we've been in our remote learning environment, and for some of us still our remote working environment. How are we both doing?
Overall, doing pretty well, adapting to the current situation, thriving, having fun, and getting to work with students, even though it's a remote setting. Again, student life is kicking butt, and it's a great time.
It's definitely about the same. I'm adapting, saving a lot of money on gas, so really can't complain.
Yes, saving all the pennies. We do love that. So I know that, like I said, we're going to hear from you in a little bit, Justin, about your experience specifically as a student veteran at the college. But Carlos, I'd love to hear from you first a little bit about where do our student veterans begin at the point where they're absolutely ready to enroll at BC?
So the very first thing that I recommend to all veterans as they're starting is make sure they know where they go for their certifying documents. So our veterans program is kind of divided into two halves. There's the social engagement side, which I oversee, but then there are the folks who are full-time, who specifically certify their benefits, make sure their housing allowance is squared away, and that their tuition is covered. So when they start, they can enroll without any problem. The folks right now, they're working remotely, but Anita Story and Yanowski Borgella are the two folks who, any veteran starting Broward College, you want to know those two people. Again, they're your go-to resource for ensuring that all of the financial side of your experience at Broward College is taken care of.
Awesome. And I know the financial piece is a huge stepping stone for a lot of our veterans coming in. They want to make sure that all their T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. But as you mentioned, your role specifically focuses on the engagement aspect at the point where they're actually enrolled at BC. Can you share a little bit about your work specifically with this population?
Absolutely. I have been fortunate that 2 years ago, I was voluntold to take on veteran student engagement at the college. And really, it allows me to work with veterans starting Broward College, as I would say the majority are just transitioning out of the military within the past 2 to 3 months. Some have been out a matter of days before they join with us. So we understand that starting college in general is a task for anyone. Then coming from that very rigid structure, there's certain issues that our veterans face that the average 18, 19-year-old kid coming out of high school isn't dealing with. So what I get to do is try to plan events that focus on social interactions and engagement to help that process of not just civilian life, but college life just go a little bit smoother. And we find out oftentimes our veterans, they want to do events with other veterans, people who have those shared experiences, who can relate to things that civilians, we can't. We've never been in war zones. So we really try to focus and make things, kind of like all-encompassing, try to appeal to various groups depending on what their likes might be. So for example, we participate in every military appreciation game that all the local sports teams put on, like the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, Florida Panthers. And we take large groups of veterans to those events, but there's a possibility they're not sports fans. So we do something a little bit more crazy, like in a non-COVID world. Last year we took a bus of students up to Halloween Horror Nights. One big feedback we heard was that veterans wanted to learn how they can use their classification as a veteran, which entitles them to various preferences when it comes to starting a business or learning about entrepreneurship. So taking that request and then teaming up with various departments around the college about, great, how can we assist veterans in learning these skills to learn about entrepreneurship, learn about different areas of the college like BCEX, who actually provide seed money to students who are enrolled. So again, I like to cast a big net of activities and events so that we're hopefully catching somebody's interest. But then sometimes we do something really simple, just like a barbecue over at Tiger Tail Lake, where veterans can bring their families, have a good time, and just interact with fellow service members.
Yeah, and Justin, actually, to Carlos's point about some of those pieces of the process or some of those engagements are unique to you all based on any additional obstacles or challenges that sometimes you have to face. Can you share a little bit about, from your experience, what that looked like at the point where you were even applying?
Sure. So initially, the biggest difference is the financial piece of it. So it's, navigating how to get the GI Bill to pay for the school, because our school's 100% tuition is covered. But there are a few additional steps that we have to go through to make that happen. They're very easy, but if we don't do it, and the onus is on the veteran, if you don't go in and click the buttons and fill out the form that you have to fill out with the finance office, then it won't get covered. So it's that's a little bit different. And then also with the transcript evaluations, we call them our joint service transcripts. So all the training, any kind of classroom type training that you do in the military, can be evaluated actually for college credits at most colleges around the country, Broward College included. So if I've taken leadership training, which I've taken a lot of leadership training, and again, in a classroom setting in the military, Broward College gives me some credits toward like leadership classes or some management classes for that. So to get that evaluated as early as possible is a need that has to happen. I, unfortunately, when I enrolled, I didn't do that right away. And I wish there was somebody there to have told me, hey, make sure you do this before you sign up for any classes at all. So that's one of the big things that made it kind of unique for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure those extra credits, they certainly help at the point where like you've identified your program and you know what you want to pursue, because you're kind of chipping away, at that degree plan.
Yeah. Yeah, it was over a semester of free credits, of training that I had already accomplished that I didn't need to go through again. So yeah, it was awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, saving you time. And I know Carlos also mentioned obviously his piece of this regarding engagement. And he specifically also brought to the attention, we do know, we hear from our student veterans all the time that they do want to continue to engage with other student veterans, that their needs and their desires in terms of that sense of belonging piece, and that development piece is sometimes unique. Can you share a little bit about what your experience has been? Because you have absolutely chosen to establish that sense of student life and student connectivity here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm involved in numerous veteran programs around the county, and South Florida in general, and it's really important to me. There's a number of benefits to it. One, I don't live in mom and dad's basement still, so I don't have that safety net that some of the other students might have. I have a lot of additional bills that maybe some other people just aren't dealing with yet. And a lot of the other veteran students I think do too. So us being able to network with each other about some of the challenges we are uniquely going through in that sense is great. But also the rapport and credibility that veterans have with each other is instant and stronger than I'll have with other people that I've known for years and years. So it's very, almost comforting to be around other veterans. And again, I know that they've gone through a lot of the same things. They've dealt with the GI Bill. They've dealt with, other veteran nonprofits in the area and organizations. So they have a lot of firsthand experience and knowledge that I just wouldn't be able to get somewhere else. So I definitely like doing events with other vets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know for a fact, like even our what we consider to be like our general student population, let's say those who hadn't served, I think one of the biggest takeaways that they get to experience is that growth and that development piece. And we want the same for our student veterans. And I know you've been able to partake in that, even in the social development piece as well, because we know that that's part of, as Carlos mentioned, kind of returning to the civilian aspect of life and making sure that you get reincorporated, and to get to have those shared experiences. So are there any major takeaways that you can share so far from your experience?
Yeah, I think it's invaluable. Just from a networking standpoint. I do a lot of mentorship and I preach networking, and being engaged is the only way to do that. So being engaged, being around other people in the veteran community and also outside the veteran community. Obviously, there's a much larger pool of people outside the veteran community. So I've got a lot of benefit personally, professionally, being involved in some of these other activities or organizations, other parts of the college itself. that have really opened a lot of doors for me and taught me a lot. So yeah, absolutely. It's also really good because there's so many resources out in the community right now for veterans, and across the country. I tell people all the time that 2020 is the best time ever in history to be a veteran of the military. Um, Everybody legitimately wants to help wants to support veterans, and it's not just talk like we used to hear sometimes. Everybody legitimately, every business wants to. The challenge becomes that there are so many resources out there, it's almost impossible to navigate as a young veteran fresh out of the military, just getting back into South Florida. So being involved with some of these networks and some of these activities in these groups really helps to understand what resources are already vetted well and are already doing really well, and kind of can help jumpstart your transition, into your civilian life after the military.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also one of the things to harp on is obviously those resources they can find specifically like at their fingertips, so to speak, through the college. And so I'm curious to know really from both of your perspectives, any advice that you have to specifically our student veterans, the ones that maybe we haven't connected with. So anything that you'd encourage for them?
I would say, just like any student, um, be willing to go out of your comfort zone. I would like to think that if a veteran, at some point when they were a teenager or maybe early 20s, they made a decision, a conscious decision to go beyond their comfort zone. Not everybody joins the military. It's a bold decision to make. So I encourage, veterans as they are starting with us at Broward College, make that bold decision to go out of your comfort zone. Yes, make friends with other veterans, get to know the veterans on your campus. But I do know that veterans who have been with us for a few years, who are towards completion, they have shared, and they've shared frequently that one of the biggest takeaways from their time was not opening up to civilians sooner for those friendships, for those networking opportunities. And they said that I was a little hard-headed when I started because I only ever wanted to be around other Marines or other Navy crew members. But once they go beyond that comfort level and they really explore their options, you know what? I think it just helps to, embrace that full student experience, those friendships that, hopefully will, last a lifetime. It may not be the exact same shared experiences that, they made while they were in the service, but still, these are meaningful friendships that hopefully will last a lifetime.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a huge part of it, and also just get involved. Get involved in whatever you can, especially when like in the veteran community. Get involved in some of the different veteran groups. The Broward College Veterans Group on Facebook is a phenomenal resource, and be open to discussing any kind of challenges or just throw questions out there. Veterans are notoriously a very prideful group of people. We were taught that we can accomplish anything and everything in the world without any extra assistance, without any whining or complaining. We're just going to make it happen, even if it doesn't look on paper like it should be able to happen. And we've carried a lot of that out after we transition out of the military. And so it's unnecessary. And typically, if you're having a challenge with whatever it is, there's 100 other veterans within arm's reach that are probably having the exact same challenge, and all of them believe that they're the only one that's going through that, which is obviously silly. So a lot of times, if we can get one person to ask, everybody else to jump in and be like, hey, you know what, I also can't figure that out, or here's what I've been trying. So just get engaged, get into some of these groups, get involved, and it's going to help make everything a lot easier.
Awesome. Very good advice, I think, not just for our student veterans, but really truly for students that are attending college in general, is that first step of bravery toward connecting either with another human or a resource, somebody or some persons that they can lean on. Absolutely. Besides the Facebook group that you just mentioned, any other primary ways that you would encourage our student veterans to connect with you all?
Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to reach out to me directly. You can find me on Facebook. It's Justin Stuckert. I'm the only one out there. I have a lot of resources. Again, I'm involved in a lot of different groups. There's a lot of very large social groups of veterans out there. There's hundreds of thousands of veterans in South Florida. So definitely don't feel like you're the only one running around, even though you don't always see it.
The only thing in addition that I would share with our veterans, if they want to be really in the loop of what's taking place at the college for them, the services provided, is to also make sure you check your Broward College email account. A lot of the important details, we don't send to your personal account. It goes directly to your student email. And again, that's what we want you to check. And that's in addition to the Facebook page is where we would send that in.
All right, awesome. Perfect. So lots of ways for them to reach out and connect, which we love to see. I really do want to thank both of you so much for your time today. I think, like I said, in celebration of this week, it's very important for us to continually highlight the resources that we have for students and very specific student populations like our veterans. And then Justin, specifically to you, do want to thank you for your service to this country.
Thank you.
And thank you, Seahawks, as always, for joining us today. Please tune in next week as we close out the fall semester with our final Student Live with some of our BC alumni. Thanks all so much and have a great day. Bye.